Shifting gears here. ESPN did a really fun exercise, and I wanted to talk about it with you. It's a quarter-century team. The best 53-man roster, all right, along with coaches, by the way, which will be relevant here shortly. Let's talk about this list. So they built the roster of the last 25 years, just like you would build a roster coming out of training camp. Up to 3 quarterbacks, they took 3 quarterbacks. They took 3 running backs.
Well, maybe they'll have a 3-way competition.
Yes. Divide it up.
Someone's not getting all the reps.
Triple threat. Although this would be worthy of a competition, unlike Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham with your first-round pick. Tom Brady is the number 1 quarterback. Kind of goes without saying, right? Peyton Manning is their number 2 quarterback.
Love it.
And I love the picture that they have of Peyton is in his Bronco stuff. And then the 3rd quarterback is Pat Mahomes. So you think about the Bronco ties here. Tom Brady, who, and the Patriots was a huge, rival over the years with the Denver Broncos. You have Peyton Manning, who inherited the responsibility of a lot of that rivalry when he was with the Colts, and then it only increased when he was here in Denver. And then you have Pat Mahomes, who has had the Broncos under his thumb for really since the 2018 season, and right here in the AFC West.
Hard to debate any of them. I mean, the only other guy that really comes to mind is Drew Brees, just for all the records he set in the last 25 years. And ESPN does even do a little practice squad here at the bottom, and they have Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers as their practice squad. So Brees was the only one, but Brady, Manning, Mahomes, you're not going to get a lot of debate out of me.
Yeah, and that practice squad. So again, they built the quarter-century roster just like a training camp roster. So you have practice squad. So like you just alluded to, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. I thought Big Ben could have got a mention there, but their practice squad is limited, just like the actual practice squad. So they were judicious with who got the practice squad nod. So then they go to running backs. 3 running backs. I think this is interesting here. Priest Holmes is their first running back, which I don't have a lot of a pushback with. I mean, the guy was just sensational. Christian McCaffrey was their 2nd running back, and their 3rd running back was Derrick Henry. What do you make of that one?
Just shows you how the running back had a big gap there in production, because you're doing a guy who did it at the very early 2000s, and then 2 guys that you could argue are still in their prime or just leaving their prime right now in McCaffrey and Henry. Zach, there's a massive gap on this list for 10, 12, 14 years? And I'm just trying to think off the top of my mind, who was the best running back in the NFL in 2010?
Well,
he certainly didn't make this list.
Well, I have him, and I think he should have made this list.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to start controversy, but maybe even over Christian McCaffrey. Where's Adrian Peterson? Adrian Peterson might be the best running back I've ever seen. That dude was an absolute psycho. MVP of the league in 2012.
Over Peyton Manning.
Coming off the ACL. Adrian Peterson was.
Right.
And when they get to practice squad, LaDainian Tomlinson makes the practice squad, not Adrian Peterson. That one sounds, I don't like that. That doesn't sound organic. You can't tell me that Adrian Peterson wasn't one of the 4 best running backs the last 25 years. Can't do it. And if Christian McCaffrey has to get sliced from this list, so be it.
Yeah, that one I am going to give pushback on. Unlike QBs, which I think we all kind of agree, hey, they got the QBs right. AP and LaDainian Tomlinson were great running backs. I may even put them above Priest Holmes. And I know Priest Holmes had a heck of a run in Kansas City, but you want to talk about more household names? AP and LT were more household names at that time.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll keep moving forward here.
And we love Christian.
Oh,
Valor kid,
yes.
We get it, but it just, Adrian Peterson, LaDainian Tomlinson are 2 of the best running backs in NFL history.
Yeah. And Christian is if he can continue to produce, is approaching that. And as a dual threat, he's probably better than anyone that we're mentioning as a dual threat. He was a 1,000 guy at one point, 3rd time in NFL history that had been done. So, okay, we'll leave that where it lies. So keep it moving here. Fullbacks, it was Kyle Juszczyk made the quarter-century team. Here's receivers. They took 6 of them, okay? This is ESPN building a 53-man roster like every NFL team will coming out of training camp based on the last 25 years. It's an all quarter-century team. Here are the receivers. Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, Justin Jefferson. Any pushback on that?
No, they're all great. They're all phenomenal. And even Justin Jefferson, who's still currently in his prime, has just had an unbelievable start to his career.
It's the best start for a wide receiver of all time.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison, of course, with Peyton Manning throwing him the football all those years in Indy. T.O. was a handful, but he's a monster. Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss, two of the GOATs. It's a fine list in my eyes. And then you do start to bring it back to the Broncos, and you're like, well, coulda Demaryius Thomas, the late great DT, sneak on a practice squad type thing would be my next thought.
Yeah. He did not make the practice squad. Two receivers did. I think they got this wrong. I love Justin Jefferson, but his 7,000 receiving yards and 40 touchdown catches, again, best start to a career. But I think Antonio Brown's off-the-field antics have impacted him being a part of this list. Antonio Brown is one of the 6 best receivers of the last 25 years. When he was at the peak of his powers, he was as good as anyone we had ever seen. And he has given all that equity back because of just uniquely Antonio Brown. They have Andre Johnson on the practice squad. What about Larry Fitzgerald over Justin Jefferson? You know, one of the all-time leading receivers in the history of the NFL. Where is he? Top 5, top 6, if you can pull that up, Dante. He did it all in this quarter-century time, and he doesn't make the list. But Justin Jefferson, who's played in the league for 4 years, does? I don't like it, William.
Yeah, no, now that you bring up Fitzgerald, that does feel like a snub. Andre Johnson, great player, but I think you could make a case DeAndre Hopkins. It might even be the best Texan that didn't make this list instead of Andre Johnson. DeAndre was really good for a really long time, still in the league to this day, but obviously past his best football. But yeah, it just goes to show you how many great receivers there's been in the last 25 years.
Totally. And Dante, you have the all-time receiving list pulled up in front of you. Jerry Rice is number 1, right? Where does Larry Fitzgerald come in after him?
The next spot, number 2.
So Larry Fitzgerald's number 2 receiver of all time, but he didn't make the quarter-century team. I don't like it. Does it give his years he was active? Wasn't it all
04 to 2020?
All inside the 25 years? That's a misstep.
And to not even have him on the practice squad, it's almost like they forgot about him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All right, let's continue to move forward with this list. ESPN's all-quarter-century team, the best 53-man roster over the last 25 years. You get to tight ends. Gronk, Kelsey, Tony Gonzalez. The practice squad tight end was Antonio Gates. I don't have really any issue with that at all. Although when they do this list in 25 years, I'd be almost surprised if Brock Bowers wasn't on it.
Ooh.
I think he's on that type of trajectory,
Ooh.
finishing the greatest rookie season at the position in NFL history.
Yeah, but if you're going to knock Jefferson for doing it for 5, you can't say, well, Bowers has done it for 1, but he's going to make this list in 2050.
I did. Left tackles. It's Joe Thomas and Trent Williams. No real issue there. Left guards. Steven Hutchinson and Alan Faneka, all right, who played for the Steelers in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then with the Jets and the Cardinals. Okay? Don't want to break down the guards. You get to center. They took 1. It's Jason Kelsey. You get to right guards. It's Zach Martin and Marshall Yanda. You get to right tackles. This is the all 53-man roster over the last 25 years. Right tackles, Lane Johnson and Willie Anderson. I have no issues.
Wait, Ty Sambrailo didn't make it?
Ty Sambrailo did not make it.
Michael Schofield?
Didn't make it.
Didn't crack it.
Well, let's keep going here.
Menelik Watson?
Menelik Watson. What about Jared Valdir?
Ooh, Valdir.
Who was the basketball player that came with the basketball shoes? Big, tall guy. Calvin. I'm forgetting his name. Yeah, there's been a lot. More players started at right tackle than started at quarterback since the time Peyton Manning left here.
Well, I'm shocked Juwan Johnson is not on this list.
You're thinking of Juwan James.
Juwan James, my bad.
Yes.
That's how memorable he was in his time with the Broncos. His, 8 games where he got an obscene amount of money?
Yeah, remember he was making it was like $300,000 per snap.
Ugh.
Yeah. Okay, so moving forward with this list, getting through the offensive line, you get to edge rushers. Edge rushers.
I got 2 Broncos that I'm hoping to see.
The number 1 edge rusher in the last 25 years, according to ESPN, in their 53-man roster, best quarter-century team, DeMarcus Ware.
Well, there's one.
DeMarcus Ware, an absolute animal, 7-time All-Pro, 138.5 sacks. 35 different times he forced a fumble and got his first championship here in Denver. Second, it's Jared Allen. Incredible career that I think is somehow underrated. Okay? Myles Garrett, the third edge rusher, and the fourth, Julius Peppers. Von Miller did not make the 4 best edge rushers in the last 25 years. When it came to the practice squad, they added 2, and it was T.J. Watt and Michael Strahan. No Von Miller.
Yeah, I can't get on board with this one. What are we doing? Myles Garrett over Von Miller? Myles Garrett, great player. Never won anything. Von Miller went on an all-time great playoff run where he terrorized Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, and Cam Newton in back-to-back-to-back weeks and hoisted a Lombardi trophy and a Super Bowl MVP for his efforts. He's also near the top of all the sack lists you ever see. His entire career was in the last 25 years. He still wants to play football this season. Von Miller not being on this list is a crime, Zach.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Von belongs on there. He does. He's the 25th sack artist in NFL history, 129.5 sacks. I don't have an issue with Julius Peppers being over him. I don't have an issue with Jared Allen being over him. I don't have an issue with DeMarcus Ware being over him. It's Myles Garrett is where and who's been great, and he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. These guys are all Hall of Famers. But yeah, I can't get there. And not putting him on the practice squad feels like an absolute, like not being a part of the 4 might be a snub. Not being a part of even the practice squad is a slight. And they're different, in my opinion. Okay, we get to defensive tackles. It's Aaron Donald. It's Calais Campbell. It's Chris Jones. You get to nose tackle. It's Vince Wilfork. They did one versatile defensive lineman. It's J.J. Watt. All right, and when it came to the linebackers for ESPN, slicing down the 53-man roster over the last quarter century, it's the linebackers Ray Lewis, Bobby Wagner, Brian Urlacher, Levante David, and Luke Kuechly. Any issue there that comes to mind?
No, 5 household names, 5 great players, 5 Hall of Famers most likely, or at least 4.
Yep.
And I always bring it back to the Broncos. They've had some great middle linebackers over the years. Danny Trevathan and Brandon Marshall were very solid in the middle when they won Super Bowl 50, but they're not in the same category as the 5 names you just gave me.
Agreed. Then we get to corner. It's Darrelle Revis. They took 5 corners. It's Darrelle Revis, and second on this list is Champ Bailey, who played for the Denver Broncos from 2004 through 2013. They say Bailey amassed more approximate value per Pro Football Reference since 2000 than any other cornerback by a healthy margin. His number of interceptions from 2000 rank 3rd most in this span. Bailey qualifies for this team on both peak and longevity. He's tied with Ray Lewis for the most Pro Bowl nods on this entire roster.
Yeah, he's one of the best corners in NFL history. No-brainer for Champ Bailey to be on this list. The only bummer is when Champ was in his prime, the Broncos lost an AFC title game at home to the Steelers. And then when Champ was getting near the end, he did have a tough day against the Baltimore Ravens in the Raheem Moore game. And then he was a shell of himself in Super Bowl 48. So that's the bummer, is that Champ had 3 legitimate shots at a ring in Denver and wasn't able to get one. Not through his own fault, but just sometimes the team around him wasn't good enough. And then again, he did kind of run out of steam towards the end, which is to be expected.
Yeah. The other corners on this list, Rondé Barber, Richard Sherman, and Patrick Peterson. When it came to safeties, cutting down the 53-man roster.
Where's Pat Surtain? I mean, if you're going to put Jefferson on this list, PS2's not even getting a practice squad? Came in the league, what, a year apart?
Yeah. But I think that the start of Jefferson's career is just a tick better than the start of Pat Surtain's career. And I think that not this past year where he was utterly dominant. The previous year was a bit of a down year for Pat Surtain. Not this past year. The previous year was not his best year, and maybe that came into the equation.
That was a product of a bad defense around him. I mean, Miami hung 70 on him. He wouldn't play him with a lot of talented guys that year.
No. Then when it came to the safeties, to finish this up, it's Ed Reed, it's Troy Polamalu, it's Brian Dawkins, who did spend time with the Denver Broncos 2009 through 2011, and Earl Thomas. The kicker over the last 25 years to make this roster was Justin Tucker. All right.
Well, that's awkward.
Why is that?
Just everything that's happened to Justin Tucker in the last 6 months.
And then he fell off as a kicker
right
this past year.
Yeah, I'm talking off the field, but you're right, on the field it wasn't pretty either.
And I wonder if he knew that stuff was going to bubble to the surface and that impacts your mentals and
very well could have.
Part of the struggles there. The return specialist was Devin Hester. And then when it came to the coaching staff, it was Bill Belichick as the head coach, Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator. Thought Sean McVay could have been in there. I thought Sean Payton could have been in there. But then as the defensive coordinator, it's Wade Phillips.
Uncle Wade. Love to see it.
How cool is that?
Love to see it. Wade was the best. Go watch the Super Bowl 50 mic'd up. They just won the whole thing. And what does he tell his family? And we got to see Lady Gaga. I mean, that was just way
priceless.
to a T. You know, he just won the Super Bowl, engineered one of the greatest defenses in NFL history, but Lady Gaga sung the national